Hello and welcome to the site training slides for the PANORAMIC trial. PANORAMIC is a platform adaptive trial of novel antivirals for early treatment of COVID-19 in the community. The chief investigator is Professor Chris Butler, the sponsor is University of Oxford, and the trial is funded by the Department of Health and Social Care and the National Institute of Health Research. The primary aim of PANORAMIC is to determine the effectiveness of selected antiviral agents in preventing hospitalisation and/or death in patients at high risk of an adverse outcome who have confirmed SARS-CoV-2 test results. We're looking at comparing existing novel antiviral agents or combinations of, specified by the Antivirals Task Force, versus best usual primary care. We're looking to recruit patients aged between 18 and 49 years old and clinically vulnerable. This means one of the following conditions or a combination of chronic respiratory disease, including COPD, cystic fibrosis, and asthma, chronic heart or vascular disease, chronic kidney disease, chronic liver disease, chronic neurological disease, including dementia, stroke, or epilepsy, severe and profound learning disability, Down syndrome, diabetes type 1 or 2, primary immunosuppression, solid organ, bone marrow and stem cell transplant recipients, morbid obesity with BMI over 35, severe mental illness, care home residents, and patients judged clinically vulnerable by a recruiting clinician or research nurse. We're also looking to recruit patients aged 50 years and above without comorbidity. Potential patients must also have symptoms attributable to COVID-19 starting within the past 5 days and ongoing. Patients must also have a positive PCR test taken between 2 days before symptom onset and randomization. A symptomatic person with a positive lateral flow test qualifies for randomization, but inclusion in the main analysis would be dependent on the positive PCR test. Exclusion criteria for the PANORAMIC trial: patients currently admitted to hospital as an inpatient, patients previously randomized into the PANORAMIC trial, patients currently participating in another clinical trial of a therapeutic agent for acute COVID-19, and additional exclusion criteria specific to each intervention are listed in the ISA for each currently open trial arm. Please also refer to the current protocol and eligibility ECRF for more information. Additional eligibility criteria for Molnupiravir. Molnupiravir is the first agent we'll be using on the PANORAMIC trial. Inclusion criteria is a willingness to take a pregnancy test prior to starting treatment. This is for all participants of childbearing potential. And exclusion criteria include known or suspected pregnancy, breastfeeding, and participants of childbearing potential or those with a partner of childbearing potential are not willing to use highly effective contraception, which are detailed in the protocol. This is for the 28-day duration of the trial and also for those who do not confirm a negative test prior to starting the drug. Other criteria include a known allergy to Molnupiravir and any patients currently taking Molnupiravir. Please again see the information-specific appendix for more information about Molnupiravir. Hub responsibilities. So on a daily basis, hubs can use a daily search using a pre-built search file and signpost patients to the study via text message, calls, or through routine appointments. On day 0, hubs can complete participant screening forms, either remote or online. Face-to-face visits may be required for future antivirals, depending on the approvals given. You'll be provided with online login details from the trial team, and you can take informed consent, either remotely or online, confirm patient eligibility, and randomise into the study using an automatic online system. On day 1 of a participant's involvement in the trial, for women of childbearing potential, there'll be a telephone call to participants to confirm receipt of their pack and the negative test results, which is also included in their pack. On day 2, for all participants, there will be a telephone call to confirm receipt of study materials, confirm follow-up procedures, and answer any queries patients may have. For patients on the antiviral arm, follow-up clinical care may be required for any side effects experienced. This is on a case-by-case basis. Follow-up for the hubs includes reporting of adverse events and serious adverse events throughout the 28-day follow-up period, and we'll go into more detail in those later. In order to set up a site and a hub, the following documents are required from each site before activation: confirmation of practice capability and capacity, C&C, good clinical practice certificate from the PI dated within the last 3 years, CV signed and dated by the principal investigator. They've received the investigator site file provided electronically, a fully executed site agreement signed by both parties, the sponsor and the site, a signed delegation log, and a green light letter or email from the primary care clinical trials unit. GCP, for those who do not already have this qualification, GCP is the international ethical, scientific and practical standard to which all clinical research is conducted, including PANORAMIC. Compliance with GCP assures patients and the public that rights, safety and well-being of people taking part in the studies are protected and that research data is reliable. Evidence of training is required for all participating PIs, and there's a free online training course available from the NIHR for those who not already have their certificate. The investigator site file will be provided electronically to all sites. All documentation generated before, during and after the trial must be kept together in each ISF. It's important that documentation is complete, legible and easily accessible at any time for monitoring and or audit purposes. The investigator site file is electronic. The investigator site file is provided electronically to all participating sites. Documentation generated before, during, and after the trial must be kept in the ISF and must be complete, legible, and easily accessible at any time for monitoring purposes. It's important to keep accurate version controls of all documents, including protocol, PIS, consent form, GP letter, and any trial-specific procedures. Current versions must be filed in ISF, and all previous versions must be marked as superseded and retained for future reference. The investigator site file is provided electronically and provided to all participating sites. All documentation generated during the trial will be kept together in the ISF. It's important that it's kept complete, legible and easily accessible at any time for future monitoring and audit purposes. It's important to keep clear, accurate versions of all trial-related documents, including the protocol, PIS, consent form, GP letter and any trial-specific procedures. The current approved versions must be filed along with previously used superseded versions. Randomisation. Participants will be randomised either to usual care, which is standard NHS care, independent of the trial, or an IMP arm, which is a novel antiviral agent included in the trial. This may change over the course of the study. The first IMP will be Molnupiravir, as previously mentioned. Participants will be randomised to one study arm using equal allocation ratios corresponding to the number of eligible arms in the trial. Patients must be eligible for at least 2 arms, usual care and at least 1 novel antiviral intervention. Stratification will be done by age and vaccination status. Follow-up. The two arms to be randomised to include usual care and the intervention. Those randomised to usual care will receive an information booklet via the email or post. They will also receive a phone call on day 2 to confirm the follow-up process. Those on the intervention arm will be randomised and sent a participant pack. This will contain an antiviral agent, an information booklet, a medication card detailing how the medication should be administered, precautions and any safety guidance. Also a medication appendix providing further information about the treatment, There is an emergency contact card to contact the trial team in an emergency, and pregnancy test only for those participants of childbearing potential. In-person visits. Patients may be asked to attend a face-to-face visit or donate a microbiological or blood sample, depending on the evaluation requirements of each IMP and antiviral. This will depend on the IMP, both the licensing status and the availability of safety data and the approval status. For antivirals with an established safety profile, follow-up will be via self-completed questionnaires online or through telephone calls, and primary care and hospital record searches. For other antiviral agents, the trial will have capacity for face-to-face assessment, sampling, and safety checks initially. This drug may then progress to remote evaluation, which will only be implemented following approval of a substantial amendment. Safety calls. So on day one, a phone call will be made the day after randomization. Participants of childbearing potential who've been allocated to an antiviral agent with teratogenic potential as specified in the ISA. For safety reasons, a clinician or research nurse from the PANORAMIC hub will call to confirm receipt of the participant pack, which contains a urine pregnancy test and a negative test result. If a positive test result is reported, a participant will be asked not to take any of the antiviral agent, return the medication, and will be withdrawn from the trial. The pregnancy test must be completed prior to taking the antiviral agent in question, and participants of childbearing potential will also be asked to confirm a negative test in their day 1 to 3 of daily diaries. On day 2, participants, either on usual care or antiviral agent, will receive a telephone call after randomization. A clinician or research nurse from the PANORAMIC hub, for those recruited via one of the hubs, will check that the participant has received their materials, confirm additional follow-up procedures, and answer queries. Please make up to 3 attempts at telephoning the participant or study partner for day 1 and day 2 calls. If unable to reach the participant or the study partner after this point, GPs are to check records for healthcare contacts the participant may have had since they were enrolled in the trial in order to capture any potential safety events in that time. Diary completion. So on days 1 to 28, participants of all trial arms will be asked to complete a daily diary for each of the 28 days. The central trial team will call participants or study partners with no internet access or those who have not completed the diary for at least 2 consecutive days before day 7, 14 and 28. There will also be a 24-hour phone line for participants to speak to a clinical member of the trial team for any concerns of their safety or side effects of the medication. Day 29 onwards, participants will be contacted at 3 and 6 months from randomization to ascertain well-being and long-term consequences of their COVID-19 illness. Adverse event reporting by the participant. So participants will be asked to rate the severity of their symptoms, which are also possible medication side effects or AEs, adverse events, in their daily diary. Categories for adverse events include mild, moderate, and major. Descriptions for mild is symptom that's short-lived or mild. Medication may be required, no limitation on usual activity. A moderate problem can be described as symptoms causing moderate limitation in usual activity. Medication may be required. And a major problem is where symptoms cause considerable limitation to activity. Medication or medical attention would be required. Central safety monitoring is done by the study team, so participants will be free to withdraw from taking the antiviral if they perceive they have an intolerable side effect or AE, adverse event. Participants will also be provided with a trial wallet emergency card detailing potential side effects and a 24-hour contact telephone line answered by a clinical team. This card will also alert hospital clinicians about trial participation. An enhanced safety monitoring committee will monitor any trends in severity of symptoms between usual care and antiviral agent arms for evidence of increased severity in those randomised to the intervention arm. For each antiviral agent, we will collect the AEs if and when specified in the relative protocol information specific appendix ISA. Molnupiravir, the first intervention we'll be using in PANORAMIC. Pregnancy only will be recorded as an AE of special interest and not necessarily a serious adverse event. Reporting period is occurring within 28 days following first administration of INP. Please again refer to the protocol ISA. Please record any potential side effects reported in the Day 2 safety call in the Day 2 call CRF. And please see section 4.8 of the Summary of Product Characteristics for the Reference Safety Information, RSI. SAE reporting to serious adverse events. The definition of a serious adverse event is any untoward medical occurrence that results in death, is life-threatening, requires inpatient hospitalization or prolongation of existing hospitalization, or results in persistent or significant disability or incapacity, or consists of a congenital anomaly or birth defect. What should the hub do if they become aware of an SAE? A responsible clinician will complete an SAE report form directly into the database within 24 hours of becoming aware of the SAE. If necessary, the patient may be contacted, provide additional missing or follow-up information as required. Assessment of causality of an SAE. The relationship of each SAE to the antiviral agent must be determined by a medically qualified individual according to the following definitions. Unrelated causality, where an event is not considered to be related to the antiviral agent. Possibly related, although a relationship to the antiviral agent cannot be completely ruled out, the nature of the event, the underlying disease, concomitant medication, or temporal relationship make other explanations possible. Probable causality is a temporal relationship, and absence of a more likely explanation suggests the event could be related to the antiviral agent. And definitely is the known effect of the antiviral agent, its therapeutic class, or based on challenge testing, suggests the antiviral agent is the most likely cause. SAEs that have not been resolved by the end of the study must be followed until any of the following occurs. Either the event resolves, the event stabilizes, the event returns to baseline if a baseline value is available. The event can be attributed to agents other than the study intervention or to factors unrelated to study conduct. Or it becomes unlikely that any additional information can be obtained from the participant or healthcare practitioner. Data collection. So all data will be collected electronically using a database called Spinnaker. The database has three parts. Firstly, the participant enrollment pages accessed from PANORAMIC webpage, providing screening, consent, contact, and baseline data. Also a section of participant login pages for randomized participants where daily diaries and 3 and 6 month follow-up forms will be completed. There are also team pages for designated signed-in users. Site users will be provided with unique login details that will enable them to access team pages. These will be given following green light activation of a site or hub. Team pages will be used to confirm eligibility and randomise participants, perform safety calls on day 1 and 2, record adverse events, serious adverse events, hospitalizations, deaths and withdrawals, and also to perform follow-up calls on months 4 and 6 post-randomisation. Eligibility confirmation and randomisation will be performed by a clinical team in 3 stages, taking place during 1 phone call with a participant. The first stage is to open the pre-randomisation CRF. The page will display inclusion and exclusion criteria as entered by the participant. If you need to search for further information, you may save the form and come back to it later, otherwise confirm the information given. The second stage is if eligibility and consent are confirmed. The next page will display and take you through the randomisation process. Make sure the NHS number is entered correctly as it is necessary to continue. The result of the randomisation will be displayed instantly and you will be automatically taken to the next page. Finally, you can inform the participant of the randomisation result, addressing with them the post-randomisation questions. On day 1 safety call, this is only for participants capable of becoming pregnant and participants of childbearing potential to check they have received their pack and to confirm the pregnancy test result. If pregnancy test was not taken, the same question will be repeated on the safety call on day 2. If pregnancy test results is positive, An automated alert will be sent to the Panoramic safety email address, and you must ask the participant not to take the drug they've been provided. You'll make up to 3 attempts to contact the participant or their trial partner. If all prove to be unsuccessful, please contact the GP as soon as possible, as specified in the working instructions. The Day 2 safety call, this is for all participants to check their medication compliance if they've been allocated to a medication, and also to follow up side effects and any health services they've used. For participants capable of becoming pregnant or randomised with a positive lateral flow test, to follow up their PCR test result if they've had one, to confirm if the participant has received their PAC, and to confirm their negative pregnancy test result if not already confirmed. Again, you can make up to 3 attempts to contact the participant or their trial partner. Otherwise, please contact their GP as per the Day 2 safety call working instruction. Hospitalisations. There's a CRF on the database for this to record hospitalisation recorded by the GP or by patient during any of the contacts. To add a new CRF, select Participant, then select Hospitalisation Plus button on the right-hand side of the panel as displayed in the screenshot there. For adverse events and reporting deaths, to add an AE, an adverse event CRF, select Participant, then select Adverse Event button on the right-hand side panel as seen on the screenshot. And to record death in the CRF, select Participant, then select Edit Death Record button on the right-hand panel, as shown on these screenshots. And finally, for withdrawals, withdrawals may be requested by a participant or investigator. After recording who requested it, please select a reason from the drop-down, and a number of reasons are given. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening. If you have any problems or questions, please contact the team either on email at panoramic@phc.ox.ac.uk, or you can call us on 0808 156 0017. Thank you.